subject is about empaths. What are the signs of being an empath, or the list of traits of being an empath, as well as the dark side of being an empath. So I'm going to share my personal experiences, and because I'm also an empath and a clairsentient myself. Those are actually different things. They tend to confuse clairsentience and empaths, but there is actually a difference between the two. An empath is actually someone who can pick up the feelings and the emotions of the people around them, or even the surroundings. As for clairsentient can also pick up the feelings and the emotions of the people, the surroundings, situation, or even the place, as well as the energies. For instance, let's say there's a person right in front of you, and an empath can easily pick up if that person is actually feeling down or depressed, even if that person didn't express it openly. A clairsentient, on the other hand, would also feel that, would also sense that that person is undergoing something. They would sense the current mood that that person is going through, whether that person is feeling down or depressed. But a clairsentient can also sense not just the mood, the current mood, but also the energies and possibly what that person is thinking. So that's a difference between clairsentient and an empath. I'd like to talk about this because when I found out that I was an empath, that was only probably 7 years ago. At first, growing up, I thought, I was told as well by many people, even family members or the people around me, that I'm highly sensitive, or I'm just sensitive or emotional, which actually took negatively. Because it's like their reaction, how they reacted towards you, like, oh, you're so sensitive, oh, you're so emotional. So when you pick that up, from the people telling you that, it's going to affect you tremendously. And in my case, because of hearing that from even family members or from people, it affected me in a negative way, that I started to feel bad. Like I started to feel that there's something wrong with me, that I'm a mess and all that. So that's the reason why I wanted to talk about this topic, because with the hopes to help other people to be aware, that being an empath or being sensitive is not necessarily way too bad, or it's not bad at all. In fact, empaths, they're very caring people. They're very giving. In my case, the downside is I'm overly giving. And that's the, thing that I really, really need to work on until now. Because empaths, they usually have a big, big heart for people. They love to help. They're good counselors. They love to listen to other people, to be there for them when they, when someone needed them. Okay, so yeah, but it's very important that you should be aware whether your kid, let's say, because there are so many parents, they don't know that their kid is actually an empath. They would just think or judge their kid as very, very sensitive, in a negative way, because that's the same experience I've had, growing up. Okay, so that's the number one sign. When people try to point out that you're highly sensitive, there is a huge possibility that you're actually an empath, because you tend to feel, you pick up on cues, you pick up on the feelings that other people cannot. All right. Another example would be, it's like you're also a peacemaker, because empaths, they love peace and harmony. And I could resonate with that. Like, I don't want any conflict at all. Like, for instance, if there are two opposing forces, or somebody, is fighting against each other, you try to mediate, or you try to fix it, because you wanted to create that balance. You wanted to create a harmonious or peaceful energy. So if you're doing that, that's a sign as well that you're an empath. Because again, empaths, they wanted anything that is calm and peace and very harmonious, harmonious energy. Number two, you feel others' feelings, just like what I mentioned earlier. An empath can easily sense what that other person is feeling, even if that person is not very, very much open to it, like openly talking about it, an empath can easily pick up if that person is actually feeling down inside, you know? Sometimes there are people who are very good in masking their emotions. In my case, there are people coming towards me, or just interact with them, and even though they appear to have that happy mood or very bubbly mood or bubbly persona and all that, I can pick up that there's something else in there. Like, you could pick up either the sadness that they're masking, the insecurities that they're masking. It's like empaths are like human lie detectors. They can easily detect the truth. And that is because of intuition and the feeling, okay, which will be covered as well in some of the lists that's I'm seeing right now online. I'm going to share, by the way, some of the articles or the links to the websites that I've also checked, which I really resonated with. Anyway, moving on. Being in crowded places overwhelms you. Yeah, let's say you went to a mall or an airport or an event where there's a lot of people around you. In my case, I feel so drained. Like, I really feel so drained that I can't wait to leave the place. In fact, there was one time where I was about to go to the mall, and there's so many people around, and because of there's a celebrity, visiting. And it's actually Miss Universe, Catriona Gray. She was, she's very, very popular, and everybody was like, there's so many people around watching her. It's like a parade or something. And oh my God, every corner there's a lot of people that I can't breathe. Like, it's like you wanted to vanish. So if you're an empath, you're very sensitive to that. It overwhelms you a lot when it comes to crowds, huge crowds, okay? Another example that I wanted to share, because I also do trainings. Sometimes when I do trainings, like a class of 40 people, I tend to pick up a lot of energies, different energies of the people that are in that one class, right? And so after the training and all that, I just have this urge, or this feeling of I need to step back and just recharge myself. After spending so much time, socializing or talking and interacting with so many people. If you can resonate with that, that's also a sign that you are an empath. Another example would be if I spend a lot of my time with so many people in one day, whether those are our friends, different people, at the end of the day, I would actually find a me time. Like, I need, again, to recharge my batteries because I feel so exhausted, or I feel so drained. Like, I can't stand it when I'm around with so many people in one day. There are times, like, for instance, a team building event that you need to spend time with a lot of people, with the entire team. I can't wait to go home after that. Like, I can't spend like so many hours or so many days with so many people. Like, I would always find that, or have that urge to find a peaceful time just with myself alone or in solitude. So that's a sign that you're also an empath. Another sign would be you possess a strong intuition, and it's something that I already mentioned earlier, right? That's why it's kind of like similar with being a clairsentient and an empath, because both are very highly intuitive. So when it comes to intuition, a good example would be this, probably. It's about your gut feeling, Like, for instance, when you meet someone, or you were introduced to someone, it's like you have this really, really strong feeling that there is something that you don't like, or you can sense that there's something wrong. Or let's say it's like your intuition is telling you not to go to this place. You're being led to a different direction. So because of the strong intuition that an empath possesses. Another trait or sign that you're an empath would be you have a very low threshold for pain. What I can share about that is, for instance, there's this friend of mine who actually shared her her experience when she got into an accident. So she was talking about the blood, she was talking about the surgery, she was talking about, all of those things that I could suddenly feel like it's like I was there, or I was the one, who felt all that. It's like, again, the word empathy, right? You put yourself in the shoes of others. So I could really feel it. Another example would be if somebody talks to me about their labor pains and all that, and they would talk about it, I could really, really feel it, as if as if it's my own experience. And again, there's a downside to that, actually, which I can probably discuss later on, because that's the con of being, there are pros and cons, of course, and that's the con of being an empath, because again, we can easily pick up energies and we absorb it as if it's our own. But there should be a balance, or there should be a need to only be selective of what energy should we actually get, absorb, or let it retain within ourselves. Otherwise, it would be really, really drained, and it would really cause a lot of negativity, or anything that is not going to be very, very much good for you. Another trait or sign would be you avoid negative media or televisions or anything that shows violence and all that. In my case, I don't normally watch the news anymore. I tend to watch it before, but then I really try to shy away from it, especially if the news is all about drama or it's all about conflict, and it's going to affect my mood and my energy. So that's the reason why I tend to shy away from that. Another example would be, I remember I have this classmate, and she was actually watching this YouTube video, and I think that was back in college. I think it was back in college when she was actually playing this video, a YouTube video, showing animals, especially dogs being tortured. And I'm very, very sensitive to that, because I love animals, especially dogs, and I cannot stand it, when animals, especially dogs, because I love them, are being tortured. So I could really feel the energy of the dog, like the dog wailing in pain and all that. So I tend to absorb not only the pain of the dog, but also the pain of the abuse as well. Like the abuse itself. There you go. The abuse, the horrible experience, and the horrible, thing. Like, why is it that this needs to happen? Why is it that they're doing that to the animal or to the dogs? So that's how I could best explain it, when it comes to why I don't want to watch those type of media or videos, because it could really, really affect me tremendously. Especially in that part, dogs. I love dogs, and when you hear a dog being tortured, being killed, and you could hear the wailing of the dog, that is something I cannot really, really stand. I really cannot stand that, to be quite honest. I remember just like feeling sick after that, like I'm gonna leave the room and all that, because it's going to affect me tremendously. So yeah, if you're also resonating with that, that means you're an empath. Another trait is you can easily tell when someone is lying, which is already mentioned earlier, right? Like, you would know if a person is actually telling the truth or not. It's like a human lie detector that you can sense, whether you can sense it from the tone of their voice or their body language maybe, or it's your intuition that tells you that this person is trustworthy, or if this person is just lying to you or not. Okay. Another sign, and this is something very, very important, because this happens to me a lot, you tend to be a magnet for energy vampires or toxic people, and a magnet for narcissists. That's really tough, I tell you. I've dealt with many, many narcissists in my life, and that was really really challenging for me. And the reason why an empath could attract narcissists or energy vampires is because of empaths are very sensitive. Again, they're very sensitive. They're actually very giving. They're very compassionate in nature. And so it's like the opposite. A narcissist would look at empaths as if it's a flame and they're the moth. Like they're very attracted to it, and they would actually come towards the empath as a, their supply, because narcissists, they love to get supply from people, right? And most of the time, they would actually get that from an empath, because empaths are very giving, and they're very compassionate. So it's like they wanted someone to serve them freely without really having to give it back anything in return. So that's a problem, and that's the main reason why narcissists and empaths attract each other, because an empath would feel very compelled to give more and more. And that was really what happened to me, because again, the thing that I need to learn right now, and I've not learned it completely yet, I'll be very quite blunt about it, but I tend to be overly giving. I tend to be overly giving towards people, especially the problem with that is to be overly giving towards people who doesn't deserve it, to people who would actually just take advantage of you. So yeah, that's the reason why empaths and narcissists tend to attract each other. Another sign would be you are the dumping ground for the problems of others. And this is so true. Oh my God. I think I've talked about this many, many times in some of my audio recordings as an example of, ever since I was a kid, like I would attract people who would actually tell me about their problems, even strangers, and that's the weird part, even strangers. So either I'm actually at the grocery store or at the grocery or department store, and somebody would just like come up to me, and then I would, like talk, like, few chit chat and all that. And then suddenly that person would actually open up. Like, they would share about their personal problems and all that. And I was like, whoa, what happened there? At first I didn't understand it. I always felt that it's so weird why I attract people like that. There was also one example where I had a classmate back in college. He got his girlfriend pregnant. And so he actually came up to me and he said he wanted to talk to me about it. Like he just wanted to share what he's been going through, his personal problems. And so he told me about, his problem that he got his girlfriend pregnant and he doesn't know what to do and all that. So after that, his best friend got mad, and his best friend was like, why did you tell her first? I'm your best friend, things like that. And I was so like thinking at that time, yeah, that's weird. That's really odd because we're never close. But he picked me as someone that he could openly tell his problems to. That's why if you're an empath, don't be surprised if you're actually the dumping ground for the problems of others. I also get that with family members. They would text you and really like tell you all about their problems the entire week, and sometimes they don't really need advice, but they just wanted to dump you their problems and all that. So yeah, if you tend to resonate with that, I won't be surprised if you're actually an empath, because the thing about empath is that empath, they really love to help. They're very helpful people, and they're good, as like what I mentioned earlier, they're good counselors. They're very great listeners. They're very, very attentive. And that's probably why, you attract people like that, because they know that you have that ability to give all of those things. The attention, the guidance, or just being there, they know they can rely on you. But again, it's very, very important that you try to create strong boundaries. That's one of the challenges of being an empath. In my case, at least in my personal experience, I don't have strong boundaries, and it's a hard lesson for me, really, because I tend to just give, overly giving, and give to the wrong people, or even narcissists or toxic people. So you just have to be very, very careful on the boundaries, or to establish a strong boundaries with people, that it's okay to say no. Like if you don't feel like doing it, then then don't. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's one of the example if you're the dumping ground of the problems of others. And I won't be surprised if you would actually feel exhausted. I always do. Like I tell you, I always feel exhausted whenever someone would actually talk to me about their problems. I had lost a friend actually just recently. She was going through a marital problem, and every day she would talk to me and tell me exactly the same problems over and over and over and over again. And I would give her advice, like as a friend, like here's my personal advice on maybe something that you might want to apply. Just try this thing. And unfortunately, that friend of mine didn't listen. She's been saying the same things, the same problems over and over again without finding a solution. So what happened was I got drained, like totally drained. And that's the problem actually. And that's the one advice I got from a spiritual author, teacher. He has a YouTube channel, Mark Bayersky. I always talk about him because he has helped me a lot by watching his videos. I have learned from him that it's very important that you don't try to lower your vibration with that person who's dumping you the problem. It's very important that you try to raise your vibration and you don't get involved or get too much infected by that energy. Otherwise, you would be infected by that energy. You would feel really, really bad and all that. So you have to raise your vibration when you're actually interacting with a person who has a low vibration. You can actually help that person by letting that person know that you can do it. You don't have to feel their pain and feel their pain in such a way that you have to feel exactly the same. And then you would tell that person, oh yeah, I feel you. It's so bad. You're going through all this. You're actually not helping the person because you're actually making the person feel that it's okay to feel this way. It is okay to feel so bad, instead of rising them up or lifting them up and raising as well their vibration that they can actually overcome whatever it is that they're going through. So again, it was a hard lesson for me to learn, but yeah, that's something that always happens to me, the dumping ground. That, eventually you get really, really tired. You often feel so fatigued and all that. And that's why I always try to find, some time to recharge or detach myself from people, or, just do the things that I'm very excited about to just replenish my energy and all that. Okay, another sign would be you have a huge heart. Okay, empaths, they do have a huge heart because it's just really part of their nature, because they're very compassionate. Again, they're very attentive again to the needs of others, very caring and giving. We also tend to go out of our way for others. The downside to that is self-sacrificing. And again, that happened to me. Being self-sacrificing is not good, because of your ability to be compassionate and to care for others and try to fix their problems. You tend to sacrifice your own happiness or your own time. In my case, that happens a lot. Like, for instance, I have a lot of things to do, but because I care for this person, a friend who's in need, and I would really feel bad and guilty, like I feel bad that they're going through something. Normally I would just put the things I've been doing and just go to that person and, and offer my time. It's good, but it's also not good, just try to find that balance without self-sacrificing, of course. And yeah, again, like what I said earlier, it's very important to establish boundaries, learn to say no at times. Saying no doesn't mean you have to be guilty, because you're creating a balance of loving yourself as well. Because if you're overly giving, or you're giving all of your energies to other people and you're not giving it to yourself, that's very dangerous. And that's what happened to me a lot, because, I suddenly realized that I just let other people, either you get taken advantage of most of the time. Like, I would always give my energy and time towards other people, but when I needed something, they're not there for me, you know? And sometimes they would even, again, they would take advantage of you. They won't be sensitive to your own needs. So be very careful. That's also my advice for empaths. Be very careful. Just try to set strong boundaries within yourself. It's okay to say no to people, and don't be self-sacrificial. So those are the hard lessons. I'm still learning. I'm not saying I've learned it already, and I'm still learning until now. But yes, again, empaths, they do really have a huge heart. Okay, so what else? Okay, this one, which really happens to me as well. Curiosity and then seekers of the truth. Yeah, we have this, we're driven really by curiosity, just to understand the complexities of life. Like, you have this intense desire to know, like to seek the truth, and you have a lot of questions. I grew up having that. I remember as a kid, I would always ask my father, what's the purpose of life? Why is it like people are acting like this when they could have, acted simply? Or there are things that are very much simple, but people tend to complicate things. And then I would always have this question of why, So again, if you're that type, you're actually very curious, and it's like you're finding answers all the time. It's highly possible that you're actually an empath, okay? There are many examples that you can see online. Just Google it and all that. But of course, I'm going to share some links that I've found online. And I'm not going to talk about everything, but those are actually just some of the examples where I can also personally share my own experience. Because again, I've been talking here for 26 minutes now. But anyway, let's just do a recap here. Let's see. Okay. Again, empath, complete and exact feeling of people's emotions. So if you're actually, this is part of your list, then you are an empath. Another one would be public places might seem overwhelming. Feeling like a human lie detector, like you can easily sense if a person is lying or not. You're unable to watch cruelty and then tragedy even on television. You constantly feel tired, or physically tired, emotionally tired, and all that. Improper digestion, back pain, and then you also tend to attract people who would want to confide in you. You have this need for some alone time to recharge. What else? Creativity. Empaths are very creative people and very artistic as well. They're also drawn towards spirituality. They easily get bored if they're not in the active mode. They can't do things they don't find enjoyable. They love to find the truth. They're truth seekers or very curious. They're adventurous. You love to travel. Yeah, in my case, I love to travel. I'm just stuck at work. What else? You can't live by rules. You're a daydreamer. You have this ability to feel time. What else? You have great listening ears. You're moody, you're shy, you can sense energies, you're pretty much shy and loner. Those are just one of the common signs that would show that you're actually an empath. Now, before I end this recording, first let me tell you the dark side, and there are a lot actually. I'm sure if you try to search online, you would definitely find that. But in my case, and this is something that I would kind of like, at first I'm not really too comfortable, like talking about it, but I guess it's about time that I should be very open to one of the challenges or one of the things, the downside and the dark side of being an empath. Empaths also have this addictive behavior, okay? Because they have this desire, this drive to escape from what they're being bombarded on, whether that's actually energies, negative energies, or people, places, everything, situations that they cannot handle. For some people who are empaths or the highly sensitives, they try to deal with the problems or with the energies or the overwhelming energies by trying to distract themselves, you know. Some of them, they try to do drugs, they try to binge eating or try to overeat and all that, or drinking and smoking, just to distract themselves. In my case, I'll be very honest. I came to a point that I was smoking. Until now, I am. I was smoking at the age of when I was in early college, because it's like you're a rebel. You became a rebel, and at the same time, you wanted to distract yourself from the many energies that you're picking up, or the emotions. It's a combination of so many things. And the most recent one, which is very negative, I know, and it's something I needed to heal within myself, is drinking. It's not like I'm an alcoholic, like really alcoholic, like I need to drink every now and then. No, but when I had some challenges at work, what happened was I tend to drink just to numb the feeling. I'm sure if you're an empath, you would understand that. And then I'm hoping that you are not the type of empath who had to go through a lot of dark periods, or that dark side that I'm talking about right now, because that's one challenge of an empath when they were led to the dark side. In my case, I tried to do self-destruction. I tried to sabotage myself. And I also, again, was trying to numb out my feelings, my emotions, or try to distract myself by drinking so that I can go to sleep, For the past 6 years, and this is hard to admit, but I just wanted to be very upfront and honest about it. For the past 6 years that I was undergoing a lot of problems dealing with narcissists in the workplace, and some other people at the same time, and a lot of people actually, what I did was I tend to, in order for me to sleep, I'm just going to drink. I'm just going to drink and sometimes pop a pill, sleeping pill, so I can just, drown it out, like drown out everything. I don't want to think anymore. I don't want to feel anymore. It's like numbing. So empaths, they do have that. They have that, that pull to do that, which is, I know it's not good. But because of the intense emotions that they're feeling and the energies that they pick up and that they absorb like a sponge, the downside to that is they tend to numb themselves. So in my case, that's what I did. I just tend to okay, I'm going to drink. I don't want to think anymore. I need to, I need to report to work later on. So that's what I did. And it's something that I'm trying to heal until now. So again, it's not a very, very, good thing, I know, but empaths shouldn't really look at themselves as victims. We are actually warriors, we are, and you shouldn't lose the capacity to help. You shouldn't lose the capacity to have a huge heart for other people. You can still do that. You can still reach out to people. You can still give to people. But the only thing that an empath should always, remember is to create a balance. Not only create a balance, but to create strong boundaries, of course, with people. And to only pick up what are, pick up energies that are going to help you. If this is actually going to drain you, or this is actually going to affect you tremendously, then it's not good. For instance, a good example is that, you should ask yourself, for instance, if I was feeling good earlier and then suddenly interacting with so many negative or toxic people, it would affect your energy, or you suddenly become very anxious, you become depressed, you become exhausted, and you were thinking, hey, I wasn't like that. So you have to find or identify, is this emotion mine, or is it something that I picked up from someone else? So it's very, very important to protect yourself. So a good tip before I end this recording, and these are some examples that I saw online as well, you have to schedule alone time. Just be with yourself, alone time, where you can actually create your own space to just release the stress, to release the emotions that you probably picked up on other people. Always try to affirm yourself at the same time, probably mantras, because that's what I've been practicing right now. So mantras and all that, and then shielding. One of my spiritual teacher who's a Reiki practitioner is also teaching me how to shield myself. It's like a good example would be imagining yourself in a huge rock. Like you won't let those negativities or energies to infiltrate you. Like you just picture yourself in a really huge boulder or something, that you're protected, that you won't be affected at all, or a bright white light around you, something like that. That's what they call shielding. Another example would be chakra cleansing and balancing. As for me, what I try to do to rebalance my chakras is by trying to do mantras to balance the 7 chakras. Another would be crystals. Crystals can really help as well to ground you or to maintain that balance, and to clear anything negative around you. So there are so many crystals that you can pick up, or you can probably, that could actually help you out on how to create that balance within the self. Another thing would be aromatherapy. That's why I love aromatherapy so much. I love essential oils. It's very, calming and very peaceful. So it will actually really elevate your mood. Another tip would be just to forgive. Again, forgive the people who has done a lot of, or dumped you with a lot of negative energy or grimy energy. Always remember that it's not something personal. It's something, and it's not you. Basically, it's not something personal. It's really that these people were in a very dark place, and that shouldn't really stop you from shining your light. And then what else? Grounding. You go to the nature. That I will be very honest that I don't have the time to do that for some reason. But that's not an excuse, of course. At least I should find some time to ground myself in nature. So what I normally do, since I can't go somewhere else that far, I would actually just go in the garden within the condominium where I'm staying right now. Like, they do have a garden here, and there are a lot of trees where I could just sit there and just ground myself. And then, of course, there's meditation, or you try to play soothing sounds, and you spend time with animals as much as possible. And then you do smudging, whether that's with sage or Palo Santo. You try to smoke some sage, or again, Palo Santo, or some incenses. So those are actually the tips, and something that I've been, doing as well for now. I know it's very challenging to be an empath, but I would look at, empaths as they're not weak. I always believe that there's this quote that I really like, something to do with vulnerability as well. And I think I would look at it as a quote for empaths. Having a soft heart in a cruel world is actually courage. It's not weakness at all. It's just that empaths are very giving. But always know that empaths, as much as they're very kind and caring and giving, they also need the same amount of love. They also need the same amount of love and care that they're actually giving out to other people. So be kind to them, be also sensitive to these people. Because the tendency is that there are people who would actually try to take advantage, and most especially by narcissists, and you can't expect them to give that same energy back. But if you're not a narcissist and yet you have an empath around you, try to be sensitive and try to give back, because normally an empath would always feel that they're the ones who's always giving out, but they themselves should realize that they also deserve love. They also deserve the amount of attention that they also give out to other people, the amount of help and care that they give out to other people, and that they shouldn't sacrifice everything, for other people all the time, because that only means, that you're not also loving yourself. So yeah, I hope it helps. So those are actually some of the traits, the signs, the dark side. I know it's quite personal for me, but you know what? It's part of me healing, And I hope that whoever listens to this, perhaps you already know that you're an empath, or if not, hopefully this would, give you an idea of what are the signs of being an empath and what are the tips as well on how to care for yourself, or some self-help to ensure that you have that balance within yourself. And as well as the dark side that I've already shared earlier. So that's it. Thank you so much. I know this is a long audio, but hopefully this would help out someone. Bye. Love and light.